Hello guys, this is a somewhat bittersweet moment for me as this is the final episode of Firefly that I will be discussing, as it is the final episode of the series. If you've been keeping up with my channel for the last half year or so, you know that I've been trying to review every episode of the brief cult sci-fi series Firefly. It's taken me a lot longer to complete this task than I initially thought, but now I'm closing in on the end. The final episode of this series is titled Objects in Space. If you haven't seen it, have no fear. I will be covering the plot really quickly, but there will be spoilers just in case you don't like that sort of thing. We begin by seeing some casual, everyday conversation on the ship from River's point of view, and we see very quickly that she is perceiving things that, at least I think, are not really happening. People saying very mean and cruel things to her that they aren't really saying. Then she sees a stick on the ship floor, picks it up, and we then see that it is not a stick, but a gun. We never actually find out how this fully loaded gun got on the floor, but I guess this episode doesn't think that that's very important. So then the crew of the ship starts discussing that River is a danger. Kaylee mentions that time River shot some of Niska's henchmen. Then a bounty hunter by the name of Jubal Early comes aboard with the intention to take the Tam siblings into custody. The rest of the episode is River trying to outsmart Early. Then we see that everyone is happy with each other. Cue credits. So I like getting to see things from River's eyes. It's a neat change of pace, and it's something the series has not attempted as of this point. This is also something that will get you thinking if you let it get into your mind. If River doesn't realize that she's holding a gun in the opening scene, does that mean that she's never aware of what's going on? Is she always seeing a soothing autumn scene instead of reality? If the Hands of Blue guys were trying to create an assassin, what use would this be in that regard? I'll no doubt mention this again when I talk about the Serenity movie next week, but it certainly seems like sometimes River is very coherent and almost acts like nothing has happened to her at all. So it seems that she isn't always seeing this fake reality that we see here. So that begs the question, what triggers River seeing a gun as a stick? Again, this episode doesn't seem overly concerned with answering questions like that, which is a shame. I get the feeling that Joss Whedon wants this to be a very air quotes artsy episode, and that's fine, nothing wrong with that. But I don't think answering some basic questions about what's going on here would interfere with the artsiness all that much. Jubal Early is a really strange thing that I want to talk about here. When I watch this guy on screen, I'm reminded of the Joker from DC Comics. The Joker is the kind of character, when done right, he has to be funny, he has to say things that genuinely make you laugh, but then he also has to be scary and not just, oh, that's mildly unsettling, but wow, that is super terrifying. I get that exact same feeling from Jubal Early. At first, he's just a guy creeping up on Serenity, and the soundtrack definitely has a hand in amping up the creepy. Then he's a guy who we are ready to see get killed in a very violent way because of how he threatens Kaylee. Then he has some extremely funny dialogue that, despite myself, I find myself laughing out loud at. Despite the fact that I find this character to be very despicable, even though we've only seen him for about 3 minutes at this point. Writing, when you get right down to it, is the ability to manipulate the audience into feeling what you want them to feel. And in this case, whoever is writing this episode is doing an incredible job of making me hate this guy and then love his dialogue. That can't be easy, especially in such a short amount of time. It isn't like characters who are more long-running in a show like this, where they say and act one way in one episode, and then later they act completely differently in another episode, and you feel like it's a failing on the writer's part. Unlike that, this feels far more like it's done by design. Now, before I forget, I want to talk about Kaylee, who I am quickly coming to dislike in these last couple of episodes. I mentioned in the last episode that Kaylee had said something snide like, well, I'm not getting any, so I might as well get friendly with a gigolo. And now, after Kaylee essentially throws River under the bus and risks getting Simon and River thrown off the ship, when Simon is understandably angry, she then tries to turn this whole thing around on Simon and asks if there's anything on the ship that he likes. Okay, really, Kaylee? Keep it in your pants after you just outed River as a secret weapon. I've said it before, but I'm actually kind of glad that this series got canceled, because I suspect Kaylee would have become even more unlikable as the series progressed if we had had any more episodes beyond this one. And I used to like Kaylee. I found her charming and cutesy, but this passive-aggressive nonsense is really wearing thin. Really, there's not much else to discuss here. Most of this episode is Jubal sneaking around the ship trying to find River, and River playing mind games with him. It's all handled pretty well. Then, the end of the episode, when everyone is happy with each other, we see that suddenly nobody is scared of River anymore, I guess. What has changed from the beginning of the episode when people are discussing what to do with River up to now? I get that she saved their lives, but she's still dangerous, right? That hasn't changed. We still don't know what made her see the gun as a stick in the woods, so we don't know if and when that will happen again. Remember how I said that the mark of a good writer is manipulating the audience to feel how you want them to feel? While I applauded this show for how they did that with Jubal early, they aren't quite getting there with the way everyone is suddenly cool with River. I feel like we're missing a scene or two in that inexplicably people aren't referencing the earlier scene where they had palaver. Overall, an enjoyable episode and not awful. This is better than some of the less good episodes we've had, but it's not at the top of the class either. So that was what I thought of this episode. What did you guys think? And not just of this episode, but overall. Was there anything I forgot to cover in my lengthy quest to review this series? If so, let me know in the comments below. And if you like this video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And even though we've come to the end of the road, there's still a little bit of driveway before we turn off the car. Next week I will be attempting to cover the film Serenity, and then after that I will be talking about the graphic novel Serenity, A Shepherd's Tale. So look forward to those videos in the future. Until then, I'll be back tomorrow with a different video. Have a good day.